The Velreth homeworld was called Keth Prime. It was a massive planet with dark jungles and towering hive cities. For 1,000 years, the Velreth had launched their wars of conquest from this world. They had crushed dozens of species. They had built an empire on the suffering of others. They had never imagined that war would come to them. The human Seventh Fleet emerged from hyperspace in perfect formation. 200 ships, battered from battle but unbroken. They took position in orbit around Keth Prime, their weapons power but silent. They did not fire. On the bridge of the Hammer of Dawn, Admiral Choi watched the planet below. Millions of Velreth lived in those hive cities. Soldiers, yes, but also workers, children, families. The humans had the power to destroy them all. But that was not why they had come. Open a channel to the Velreth government, Choi ordered. All frequencies. I want everyone on that planet to hear this. Her communications officer nodded. Channel open, Admiral. Choi stood straight and spoke clearly. People of the Velreth Dominion. I am Admiral Choi Seung-yi of the United Nations Navy. 17 days ago, your military attacked our colony of New Bizen without warning. They killed over 6,000 of our civilians, including many children. She paused to let the words sink in. We came for justice. We destroyed your invasion fleet. We rescued our survivors. We captured your commander Vorik. Now we are here above your homeworld, with weapons that could burn your cities to ash. On Keth Prime, millions of Velreth looked up at the sky. They could see the human ships through the clouds, dark shapes against the stars. Fear spread through the hive cities like a disease. We could destroy you, Choi continued. Your military is broken. Your fleet is gone. Nothing stands between our weapons and your people. Her cold eyes seemed to stare directly through the screen. But we will not. Confusion rippled through the Velreth population. They had expected death. They had expected revenge. This was something else. Humanity does not want to conquer you. We do not want to enslave you. We do not want to rule your worlds. We only want to live in peace, to trade, to explore, to grow. Choi's voice hardened. But we will defend our people, always, against anyone, with everything we have. She stepped closer to the camera. This fleet above your world is not a threat. It is a warning. Attack our people again, and we will return. And next time, we will not stop at your homeworld. We will hunt your soldiers to the edges of the galaxy. We will break your empire into pieces so small it can never threaten anyone again. In the Great Hall of the Velreth Supreme Council, the leaders of the Dominion watched the human admiral with growing terror. They had built their power on fear. Now they understood what true fear felt like. You have one choice, Choi said. Surrender unconditionally. Release all prisoners from your previous wars. Pay compensation to the families of New Bizen, and never again raise weapons against humanity or our allies. And if we refuse, the Supreme Leader asked through a direct channel. Then look at your sky, Choi replied. Count our ships. Remember what happened at Verdana 7, and make your decision. The Supreme Leader looked at his advisors. They were all silent. There was nothing to discuss. We accept your terms, he said quietly. Wise, Choi said. Prepare to receive our diplomatic teams. The channel closed. At the Galactic Assembly, Ambassador Lee Jin-soo played the recording of Admiral Choi's message for all the gathered species. The chamber was completely silent as they watched humans deliver ultimatums to a species that had terrorized the galaxy for centuries. When the recording ended, Jin-soo stood before the assembly. The Velreth Dominion has surrendered unconditionally, he announced. Their military is being dismantled. Their prisoners from previous wars are being freed. The victims of their aggression will receive compensation. He looked around the chamber at the watching alien faces. Humanity did not seek this war. We came to this galaxy as explorers and traders, not as conquerors. We wanted friendship, not conflict. His voice grew firm. But we will not allow our people to be attacked without response. We will not allow our children to be killed without justice. This is not a threat. This is simply who we are. Myra Talvin of the Sarith Federation rose to speak. The Assembly recognizes the human response as proportional and justified. The Velrith attacked first. The humans defended themselves and sought accountability. She looked at Jinsu with something like respect. We welcome humanity as full partners in galactic affairs. And we note, for the record, that they are not to be taken lightly. Applause spread through the chamber. Species that had once dismissed humans now looked at them with new understanding. Months later, the reconstruction of New Bizen began. Park Tae-ho stood on the same hill where he had watched the attack, but now the view was different. Construction machines worked in the fields. New buildings rose where old ones had burned. Colonists who had evacuated were returning home. Yunhana walked up beside him, carrying a small bag. "What is that?" he asked. She opened the bag and showed him seeds. Simple wheat seeds like the ones they had grown before. "I thought we could plant the first crop ourselves," she said. Tae-ho smiled. It was the first real smile he had allowed himself since the attack. "That sounds right." Together, they walked down to a patch of cleared earth. Hannah dug small holes with her hands. Tae-ho placed the seeds inside and covered them gently. It was simple work, but it meant everything. The colony would grow again. The people would heal. New Bizen would become a symbol not of tragedy, but of recovery and hope. In orbit, a single ship remained. The Un's indomitable Captain Baek Junho's battleship had been assigned to protect the colony during reconstruction. Junho watched the planet below and felt something close to peace. They had won, not just a battle, but something larger. They had shown the galaxy what humanity was capable of, both the fierce anger and the gentle rebuilding. They had taught a lesson that would echo through the stars for generations. Across the galaxy, on 100 different worlds, alien parents told their children stories about the humans. "They are strange creatures," the story said. "They look weak, but they are not. They seem soft, but they are not. They prefer peace, but do not mistake that for fear." A Sarith mother tucked her child into bed on a distant planet. "The humans are good friends," she said. "They trade fairly. They keep their promises. They help those in need. But what if someone hurts them?" the child asked. The mother paused, remembering the footage of human ships above Keth Prime. "Then they stop being friends," she said quietly, "and they become something else. Something you do not want to face." She kissed her child's forehead. "So be good to the humans, little one. Treat them with kindness. And never, ever harm their families." "Why not?" The mother looked out her window at the stars. "Because they will never forget. They will never forgive. And they will never stop until they have found you." She smiled gently. "But if you are their friend, they will protect you just as fiercely. That is the human way." On Earth, Admiral Choi returned home to a hero's welcome. But she did not feel like celebrating. She had done what needed to be done, but the cost had been high. 53 ships lost. Thousands of sailors and Marines killed. Families broken forever. She stood at the memorial for the fallen and said a quiet prayer. "We remember," she whispered, "and we will always protect what you died for." And somewhere in the rebuilt colony of New Bizen, a small girl planted flowers near a memorial for the victims of the attack. She was one of the children Sergeant Oh Seung-min had rescued from the bunker. She did not fully understand what had happened, but she knew that people had come to save her when she was scared. She looked up at the sky, where human ships patrolled in silent guardian circles. "Thank you," she said to no one and everyone. The wind carried her words across the golden fields, across the new buildings, across the scars that were slowly healing. Humanity had shown the galaxy its wrath, but more importantly, it had shown its heart. And the galaxy would never forget either one. The space above Verdana 7 was filled with wreckage. Broken Velrith ships drifted like dead leaves on a dark ocean. Fires burned inside shattered hulls. The battle in orbit was over, but the war on the ground had just begun. Admiral Choi stood on her bridge and looked at the planet below. Somewhere down there, survivors were still hiding in bunkers. And somewhere else, Velrith ground forces were still hunting them. "Admiral," her communications officer reported, "we have received a signal from the surface." "It is the colony security chief, Park Tae-ho. Put him through." The screen showed a tired face covered in dust and dried blood. Tae-ho looked like he had not slept in days, but his eyes were alive with hope. "Admiral Choi," he said, his voice rough, "I cannot tell you how good it is to see human ships in our sky again." "We came as fast as we could," Choi replied. "What is your situation?" "About 6,000 survivors in various bunkers across the colony. The Velrith ground forces are still active. Maybe 2,000 of them. They have been trying to break into our hiding places for the past 3 days. Hold on a little longer. The Marines are coming." Tae-ho actually smiled. "We will be here, Admiral. We are not going anywhere." In the launch bay of the carrier Ain's Rising Sun, hundreds of Marines prepared for combat. They checked their weapons. They sealed their armor. They wrote final messages to loved ones. Just in case, Sergeant Oh Sung-min moved through his squad, making sure everyone was ready. He was a big man with a scarred face and gentle eyes. He'd been a Marine for 15 years. He had fought pirates, rebels, and hostile aliens on a dozen different worlds. But today felt different. Today, he was going to save children. "Listen up," he told his squad. "Our mission is simple. We land near the bunker locations. We clear out any Velrith we find. We protect the civilians until extraction is complete." He paused. "These people have been waiting for us for days. They are scared. They are hurt. Some of them have lost family members. When we reach them, remember that we are not just soldiers. We are their hope." "Yes, Sergeant," the squad replied as one. The dropships launched from the carrier and fell toward the planet like silver arrows. Anti-aircraft fire from Velrith positions reached up toward them, but escort fighters cleared the way. Explosions lit the sky as enemy guns were destroyed. Sung-min felt the dropship shake as it entered the atmosphere. Through the small window, he could see the remains of New Bizen, burned buildings, scorched fields, empty streets. It was a graveyard. 30 seconds to landing, the pilot announced that the dropship touched down hard. The doors opened. Sung-min was first out, his rifle already scanning for targets. The Velrith were waiting. Green armored soldiers emerged from behind ruined buildings, firing energy weapons at the landing zone. Sung-min dove behind a broken wall and returned fire. "Contact front," he shouted. "Squad, spread out and advance." The battle for New Bizen's surface had begun. In the main bunker, Yoon Hana monitored the situation through what remained of the colony's sensor network. The Marine landing had been detected by the Velrith, and now enemy forces were moving to intercept. "They are fighting above us," she told the frightened colonists. "Our Marines are here." An old man next to her began to cry. "Will they reach us in time?" The Velrith had been drilling at our bunker door for hours. Hana looked at the door. The Velrith had brought cutting tools. Red lines glowed where they were slowly burning through the metal. They would break through within the hour. She picked up her communicator. "This is Yoon Hana in Bunker 7. We have Velrith cutting through our door. We need help. Static. Then a voice came through. Rough, calm, professional. Bunker 7, this is Sergeant Oh Sung-min. We are 400 meters from your position. Hold tight. We are coming. Hana felt tears in her eyes. Thank you, Sergeant. Please hurry. We have children here. Nothing will stop us, ma'am. That is a promise. Sung-min pushed forward through the ruined colony. Velrith's soldiers appeared from every direction, but his squad cut them down with precise fire. The Marines moved like a single organism, covering each other, never stopping, never hesitating. A Velrith jumped from a rooftop, trying to land on one of his soldiers. Sung-min tackled the alien in midair and drove his combat knife through its neck. Green blood sprayed across his armor. Keep moving, he ordered. We are almost there. They reached Bunker 7 just as the door began to fail. Velrith soldiers were gathered around the entrance, their cutting tools finishing the job. They did not see the Marines coming. Open fire, Sung-min said quietly. The squad unleashed everything they had. Velrith bodies fell in waves. The aliens tried to return fire, but they were caught in the open. In less than a minute, it was over. Sung-min approached the door. He could hear crying from inside. He knocked gently. This is Sergeant Oh Sung-min, United Nations Marine Corps. The area is secure. You can open the door. There was a long pause. Then the heavy door slowly opened. Hana stood in the entrance. Behind her, hundreds of people stared at the Marines with wide eyes. Children clutched their parents. Wounded people lay on makeshift beds. The bunker smelled of sweat, blood, and fear. But now there was also hope. Sergeant, Hana whispered. You came. We came, Sung-min confirmed. And we are taking you home. Across the colony, similar scenes played out. Marine squads reached bunker after bunker, driving back the Velrith and liberating survivors. Medical teams followed close behind, treating the wounded and preparing people for evacuation. Taeho guided the Marines through the colony's underground tunnels, showing them paths the Velrith did not know about. He watched as families were reunited, as children found parents they thought were dead. As old wounds began to heal. In orbit, Admiral Choi received reports of the ground operation's success. She allowed herself a small moment of satisfaction before turning her attention to the crippled Velrith. Flagship, Commander Vorak has requested to speak with you, a communications officer said. Put him through. Vorak's image appeared on screen. He looked broken. His compound eyes were dull. His proud bearing had collapsed into something small and defeated. Admiral Choi, he said, I wish to discuss terms of surrender. There are no terms, Choi replied. You will surrender unconditionally. Your ships will be impounded. Your soldiers will be taken prisoner. And you will face trial for war crimes against human civilians. And if I refuse? Choi's cold eyes did not waver. Then I will destroy what remains of your fleet, kill every soldier on that planet, and still take you prisoner. The only difference is how many of your people die first. Vorak lowered his head. Very well. I accept your terms. A wise choice. Prepare for boarding. On the surface of Verdana 7, Sung-min found the last group of survivors. It was a small bunker, far from the main colony. Inside were 37 children and 2 teachers who had led them to safety during the initial attack. When the door opened, the children stared at the armored Marines with terrified eyes. They had spent days in darkness, listening to explosions, waiting to die. Sung-min took off his helmet. He knelt down so he was at their level. His scarred face softened into something gentle. Hello, he said quietly. My name is Oh Sung-min. I am a Marine. I am here to take you somewhere safe. A small girl, maybe 5 years old, stepped forward. "The monsters are gone?" Sung Min felt his heart break and heal at the same time. "Yes, the monsters are gone, and they will never hurt you again." The girl walked up to him and took his hand. Her tiny fingers barely wrapped around two of his. "Okay," she said simply. "I will come with you." Sung Min picked her up gently and held her against his armored chest. The other children followed, holding hands with Marines, climbing onto shoulders, finally letting themselves believe they were safe. As he carried the girl toward the evacuation point, Sung Min looked up at the sky. The battle was won. The people were saved. But the war was not over yet. The Vorath homeworld still waited, and humanity had a message to deliver. Commander Reth Vorak stood on the bridge of his flagship and looked down at the burning world below. Verdana 7 had been an easy victory. The humans had barely resisted. Their colony was in ruins, and the survivors were hiding underground like insects. It was almost disappointing. "Commander," his second officer reported, "our ground forces have located several human bunker entrances. Should we begin extraction?" "Not yet," Vorak said. "Let them suffer in the dark for a while longer. Fear makes prey easier to handle." He clicked his mandibles in amusement. "These humans are pathetic. Their leaders sent angry messages, but they will do nothing. They are too weak to fight a real war." His sensor officer suddenly made a sharp noise. "Commander, we are detecting hyperspace signatures at the edge of the system. How many?" The officer was silent for a moment. When she spoke again, her voice was strange. "Over 200 ships, Commander." Vorak turned sharply. 200? That is impossible. The humans could not assemble such a fleet so quickly. "They have, Commander. They are here." The view screen flickered and changed. Stars became streaks of light as ship after ship emerged from hyperspace. Human warships, battleships with massive guns, carriers launching swarms of small fighters, cruisers and destroyers forming perfect battle lines. At the center of the formation was a ship larger than any Vorak had ever seen. The humans called it the UN's Hammer of Dawn. A communication signal came through. Vorak accepted it. Admiral Choi Soon-yi appeared on screen. She was small, with gray hair and eyes like winter ice. She did not look angry. She did not look afraid. She looked at Vorak like a farmer looks at a pest that needs to be removed. "Velrith Fleet Commander," she said calmly. "I am Admiral Choi of the United Nations Navy. You attacked our colony. You killed our people. Now we are here." Vorak forced himself to sound confident. "You are outnumbered, Admiral. One have 312 ships. You have barely 200. I know. Then you have come to negotiate your surrender?" "No," Choi said. "I have come to destroy you. Your fleet will not leave this system." "Not one ship?" Vorak laughed, but it sounded hollow even to his own ears. "You humans are arrogant. Numbers decide battles. This is simple mathematics." "Then you have not been paying attention to our mathematics." Choi's cold eyes never blinked. "We have calculated the price of new Bizon. The price is your entire fleet. And we are ready to pay any cost to collect it." The screen went dark. Vorak stared at the blank display for a long moment. Then he straightened and gave orders. "All ships, battle formation. We will crush these humans and teach the galaxy that the Velrith cannot be challenged." But deep inside, something cold was growing in his chest. It might have been doubt. It might have been fear. On the planet below, Park Tae-ho heard the news through a broken radio. The bunker was dark and crowded. 500 people shared the space meant for 200. Children cried. Wounded people groaned. The air was thick with fear. But when Tae-ho announced that the Navy had come, everything changed. 200 ships, he said. The Seventh Fleet is here." For a moment, there was silence. Then someone began to cry with relief. Others started to pray. An old woman began to sing an ancient song from Earth, and others joined her voice. They were not saved yet, but hope had returned. "Hold on a little longer," Taiho told them. "Our people have come for us." In orbit, the battle began. Captain Beak Junho commanded the battleship Indomitable. It was not the largest ship in the fleet, but its crew was the most experienced. They had trained for years for exactly this kind of fight. Enemy formation is standard Velrith tactics, his tactical officer reported. They are grouping together for overwhelming firepower. "Good," Junho said. "That makes them predictable." Signal the Admiral. "We are ready." The human fleet did not charge forward like the Velrith expected. Instead, they split into 5 groups and moved toward the asteroid field on the edge of the system. Vorak watched with confusion. "What are they doing? They are retreating?" "I do not think so, Commander," his tactical officer said nervously. The asteroids began to move. Hidden human drones had been attached to thousands of rocks. Now they pushed the asteroids toward the Velrith fleet like a storm of stone and metal. "Evasive action," Vorak screamed. But 300 ships could not evade quickly. The asteroids crashed into the formation, smashing smaller ships, damaging larger ones. Chaos spread through the Velrith lines. And then the human fighters came. Lieutenant Shin Yumbai led the Black Phoenix Squadron. 50 small fighters, fast and deadly. While the Velrith were distracted by the asteroids, her squadron dove straight toward the enemy command ships. "All fighters follow my lead," she said over the radio. "We target their communication arrays first. Blind them." The fighters screamed through the battlefield at incredible speed. Velrith guns tried to track them, but they were too fast, too unpredictable. Yumbai rolled her ship between 2 enemy cruisers, firing as she passed. Explosions bloomed behind her. "First target down," her wingman reported. "Move to the next," Yumbai said. "Do not stop. Do not slow down." The Velrith had never fought enemies like this. Their previous wars had been against species that fought in straight lines, that retreated when outnumbered. The humans did neither. They attacked from every direction at once. They used tricks and traps. They sacrificed drones and missiles to create openings for their main guns. And they never stopped coming. Junho watched as the Indomitable's main cannon tore through a Velrith cruiser. The enemy ship broke in half and exploded. "How many have we lost?" he asked. 17 ships, Captain. The enemy has lost 93. Continue firing. We have not finished yet." Vorak could not believe what he was seeing. His beautiful fleet was being torn apart. The humans took damage, yes, but they kept fighting. When a human ship was too damaged to fire, it often crashed itself into enemy vessels, killing both. It was madness. It was terrifying. "They do not retreat," his second officer said with growing horror. "They do not stop." Why did they not stop? Vorak had no answer. Yumbai made another pass through the enemy formation. Her fighter was damaged now. One engine was failing. Warning lights covered her display. Black Phoenix 6 returned to carrier, her commander ordered. "Negative," she said. "I have one more target. The enemy flagship. I can reach it." Her damaged fighter accelerated toward Vorak's ship. Velrith guns fired at her, but she dodged and weaved between the beams. At the last moment, she fired all her remaining missiles at the flagship's main engine. The explosion shook the massive ship. Secondary explosions followed as the engine core failed. Yumbai pulled away, her fighter barely holding together. "Flagship engine destroyed," she reported. "He is not going anywhere now." On the Hammer of Dawn, Admiral Choi, allowed herself a small smile. "Signal all ships," she said. "Finish them." The human fleet pressed forward. There was no mercy, no hesitation. Every Velrith ship that tried to surrender was ignored. Every ship that tried to run was hunted down. Vorak stood on his crippled bridge and watched his empire's fleet die around him. 300 ships reduced to less than 50. All his confidence, all his arrogance had turned to ash. He finally understood what Ambassador Talvin had tried to tell him. These humans were not prey. They were not soft. They had simply been waiting. And now they had stopped waiting. "Commander," his last surviving officer asked, "what are your orders?" Vorak looked at the view screen. Human ships surrounded him. Their weapons were aimed at his bridge. And behind those weapons were the eyes of creatures who had traveled across the galaxy for one purpose only: revenge. "There are no orders," Vorak said quietly. "We have lost." Outside, the battle was ending. The humans had won, and they were not done yet. The message from New Bizin reached Earth in less than 3 hours. Quantum relay technology made distance almost meaningless. Light years became seconds. And what those seconds carried changed everything. Admiral Choi Soon-Yi was in her office at the United Nations Space Command headquarters when her screen lit up with emergency alerts. She was a small woman with gray hair and cold eyes. 30 years in the Navy had taught her to stay calm in crisis. But when she watched the footage from Verdana 7, her hands tightened into fist-up children running through burning streets. Buildings collapsing under orbital fire. A young communications officer begging for help as explosions shook the ground around him. And above it all, the dark shapes of Velrith warships. "Get me the Joint Chiefs," she said to her aide, "and prepare the 7th Fleet for immediate deployment." Within hours, the footage spread across all human worlds. News channels played it without stopping. Social media exploded with anger and grief. On Earth, on Mars, on every colony, humans watched their people die and felt something ancient wake up inside them. The President of the United Nations addressed humanity that night. His voice was heavy with controlled fury. Today, the Velrith Dominion attacked the peaceful colony of New Bizin without warning and without reason. They killed civilians. They killed children. This was not war. This was murder. He paused. "We did not seek this conflict, but we will end it. The full force of human military power will be brought against the Velrith. They will answer for every life they took." Admiral Choi watched the speech from the bridge of her flagship, the Un's Hammer of Dawn. Around her, the 7th Fleet was gathering. 200 warships from across human space. Battleships, cruisers, carriers, destroyers. It was the largest human armada ever assembled. Her communications officer approached. "Admiral, we have a message from the Galactic Assembly. They want our representative to attend an emergency session." "Tell Ambassador Lee to attend," Choi said. "And tell him to make our position very clear." The Galactic Assembly was the closest thing the galaxy had to a united government. Dozens of species sent representatives to discuss trade, treaties, and conflicts. Humans had joined only 50 years ago. They were still considered newcomers. Some species did not take them seriously. That was about to change. Ambassador Lee Jin-soo stood before the assembly. He was an older man with a calm face, but today his voice carried steel. "Representatives of the galaxy," he began. 3 days ago, the Velrith Dominion attacked a human colony without any declaration of war. They killed over 5,000 civilians in the first hour of bombardment. Many of those killed were children. He pressed a button. The footage from New Bizin played on every screen in the chamber. The assembly watched in silence as buildings burned and people screamed. "We demand that the Velrith answer for this crime," Jin-soo continued. "We demand justice for New Bizin. The Volrath ambassador rose from his seat. He was tall, with gleaming compound eyes and an expression that might have been amusement. "The humans speak of justice," he said, his voice clicking and cold. "But they do not understand their place in this galaxy. They are newcomers. They are soft. They have never faced a true military power. We are soft?" Jinsu asked quietly. "You grow food. You trade goods. You talk of peace and cooperation. These are the behaviors of prey species." The Volrath ambassador spread his armored arms. "The strong take what they want. This is the natural law. Your colony existed on land we desired. So we took it." Murmurs spread through the assembly. Many species looked uncomfortable. Some looked afraid. From the back of the chamber, a different voice spoke. It was Mira Talvin, representative of the neutral Sarith Federation. The Sarith were ancient and wise, observers of galactic history for thousands of years. "Ambassador Volrath," Talvin said calmly, "I wonder if you have studied human history." The Volrath made a dismissive gesture. "Why would I study the history of prey? Because if you had, you would not have done what you did." Talvin's large eyes moved to the human ambassador. "The humans are indeed newcomers to this galaxy, but they are not new to war. Their own planet's history is filled with conflict. They have spent thousands of years fighting each other with increasing skill and creativity." "Fighting each other," the Volrath said. "That proves nothing." "It proves everything," Talvin replied. "They are the most experienced warriors in this galaxy. They simply choose not to fight unless forced. What you see as softness is actually restraint." She paused. "You have just removed that restraint." The Volrath ambassador laughed. It was an ugly sound. "Words, just words. We have superior numbers. We have superior technology. The humans will surrender after we destroy a few more of their colonies." Ambassador Li Jinsu stepped forward. His face was calm, but his eyes were hard. "You are wrong," he said simply. "We will not surrender. We will not negotiate. We will not stop." He looked around the chamber at all the watching species. The Volrath believe they understand war, but they have never faced humanity at war. They have never seen what we become when you harm our families. "And what do you become?" The Volrath asked Mockingly. Jinsu smiled. It was not a pleasant smile. You will find out very soon. At that moment, far across the galaxy, Admiral Choi stood on the bridge of the Hammer of Dawn. 200 ships waited behind her. Their engines ready, their weapons loaded. "All ships report ready." Admiral, her executive officer, announced. Choi looked at the stars on the view screen. Somewhere out there, Volrath soldiers were hunting the survivors of New Bizin. Somewhere out there, Park Taeho and the others were hiding in bunkers, waiting for help that might never come. But help was coming. Help was coming with 200 warships and the anger of 20 billion humans. "Set course for Verdana 7, Choi ordered. "Maximum speed." "Admiral," her officer said carefully, "our intelligence suggests the Volrath have over 300 ships in the sector. We will be outnumbered." "I know. Should we wait for reinforcements?" Choi turned to look at him. Her cold eyes showed no fear. "Every hour we wait, more of our people die. The Volrath think numbers will save them. They think we will be afraid of their fleet." She turned back to the view screen. "They are wrong. They wanted war. We will teach them what that means." The engines of 200 ships roared to life. The Seventh Fleet jumped into hyperspace, leaving trails of light across the darkness in the galactic assembly. Ambassador Talvin watched the Volrath ambassador leave the chamber. He was still laughing, still confident, still blind to what was coming. She shook her head slowly. "Poor fools," she whispered. "They have no idea what they have awakened." The galaxy held its breath. The humans were coming. and they were not coming to negotiate. The morning sun rose over the golden wheat fields of New Bizen Park. Tejo stood on the hill near the security building and watched the farmers begin their work. Children ran between the rows of crops, laughing and playing. It was a peaceful sight. After 20 years in the Earth Defense Navy, this quiet life was everything he had wanted. New Bizen was a small colony on the frontier world called Verdana 7. 12,000 humans lived here, far from Earth, far from the busy center of human space. They grew food and traded with friendly alien species. Life was simple and good. Tejo was the colony's security chief now. It was an easy job. The biggest problems were usually stolen farm equipment or arguments between neighbors. He liked it that way. War had made him tired. Peace had made him whole again. His communicator buzzed. It was Yoon Hana, the agricultural scientist, who also served on the colony council. Tejo, are you seeing the sky? Her voice was strange. Not scared, but confused. He looked up. At first, he saw nothing unusual. Then he noticed them. Dark shapes against the blue sky, growing larger. Ships. Many ships. Those are not ours, he said quietly. No, they are not. Tejo ran to the security building. Inside, young Kim Dongwoo sat at the communication station. The boy was only 22 years old, fresh from training on Earth. He had never seen real trouble. Sir, I am getting strange signals, Dongwoo said. His hands were shaking. These ships, they are Velroth. Tejo felt his blood turn cold. The Velroth Dominion was an insectoid species from the far side of the galaxy. They were known for conquest, for expansion, for cruelty, but they had never come near human space before. How many ships? Tejo asked. 47. All warships. The main screen flickered. A face appeared. It was not human. The Velroth had large compound eyes, sharp mandibles, and dark green skin that looked like armor. This one wore symbols of high rank. Humans of this world, the Velroth commander spoke. His voice was cold and clicking. I am Fleet Commander Rethvorik of the Velroth Dominion. Your colony now belongs to us. Surrender immediately, and some of you will be allowed to live as workers. Resist, and you will all die. You have 1 hour. The screen went dark. Dongwoo looked at Tejo with wide eyes. What do we do, sir? Tejo picked up his communicator. Hana, call an emergency council meeting. Now. 15 minutes later, the 7 council members sat around a table. Some were scared. Some were angry. Hana was calm, as always. We cannot fight 47 warships, one council member said. We have no military. We are farmers, so we surrender. Another asked, become their slaves? Tejo stood up. I have fought the enemies of humanity for 20 years. I have seen what species like the Velroth do to those who surrender. They do not want workers. They want examples. They will kill most of us anyway, just slower. Then what choice do we have? Hana asked. We fight. We delay. And we call for help. Tejo pointed at the map on the wall. We have underground bunkers from the original colony construction. They were built to survive natural disasters. They can hide our people. We put everyone underground, and we send a message to Earth. Earth is far away, a council member said. Help will take time. Then we survive until it comes. Hana nodded slowly. I will prepare the emergency broadcast. Dongwoo, can you send a message through the quantum relay? Yes, ma'am. But the relay station is in the open. If they start shooting, then we must be fast, Tejo said. Everyone, start moving people to the bunkers. I will organize our few security officers to slow down any ground forces. Go. Now. The colony came alive with controlled panic. Parents carried children. Old people helped each other walk. Everyone moved toward the bunker entrances hidden in the hills around the settlement. Tejo found his old military rifle in the security building. He had hoped never to use it again. He checked the power cell and walked outside. Hana was at the communication tower with Dongwu. They were recording a message. "This is Colony New Bizun on Verdana 7. Hana spoke into the camera. "We are under attack by the Volrath Dominion. They have given us 1 hour to surrender. We have 12,000 civilians here, including 2,000 children. We need help. Please, anyone who receives this message, we need help." Dongwu pointed at his screen. "I am also sending live footage of the ships in orbit. Earth will see everything." "Good," Tejo said. "Send it now. Send it all." The quantum relay hummed as it transmitted the message across the stars. For a moment, hope filled the air. Then the sky turned red. The Volrath did not wait 1 hour. They began their bombardment after only 30 minutes. Bright beams of energy fell from the sky like angry rain. The first blast hit the eastern farming district. Buildings exploded. Fire spread through the wheat fields. "Everyone, move faster!" Tejo shouted into his communicator. "Get underground now." More blasts came. The school building collapsed. The medical center burned. Screams filled the air as people ran for their lives. Dongwu kept transmitting. "They are killing us. They are killing civilians. Earth, please see this. Please help us." A blast hit near the communication tower. The ground shook. Dongwu was thrown from his chair, but he got up and kept working. "The message is sent," he said. "Earth has received everything." Another blast destroyed the tower. Dongwu barely escaped, running toward the bunkers with Hana. Tejo stood on the hill and watched his colony burn. Half of New Bizun was already in flames. He could hear children crying in the distance. He could see bodies in the streets. Somewhere above him, the Volrath watched and laughed. They thought this was easy. They thought humans would break. They thought wrong. Tejo raised his rifle toward the sky. It was a useless gesture. His weapon could not reach the ships in orbit. But it was a promise. "You made a mistake today," he whispered to the enemy he could not see. "You attacked our homes. You killed our children. And now every human in the galaxy will know what you did. They will come for you. And when they do, you will learn what humanity truly is." He turned and walked toward the bunkers. Behind him, New Bizun burned. But the message had been sent. Earth knew. And Earth would answer. The Volrath had chosen the wrong enemy.